good to be seen and good to see you too.
Yeah. So we're here today to talk a little bit about the mastermind programs.
Yes. It's a beautiful structure. It supports you in thinking through just about everything, including relationships, right? And what's great is that these steps are, they're crisp, they're simple, and very fully thought out. And with practice, it builds a muscle for creating life with power and ease. And that's what we're inviting people to these groups for, right? To have a place to practice and to develop for themselves their own structure for supporting them in reminding themselves who they are, where their power comes from, and how they operate in life. So, yeah.
And you and I have been doing these mastermind groups for a while now, and we're here today to discuss the first step of the mastermind principles, which there are 8 of them.
Yes.
And we just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview on this particular step today.
Yes.
So Michelle, is there anything else you want to say before I read it?
Well, surrender is the first one.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful one because, first of all, in this course, we are actually examining every word we speak and what it means to us, what's in the background. Because sometimes we hear words like surrender and we have an automatic reaction to it, right? Based on our past history and our past relationship to something that might be similar or another use of the word. So we want to have everybody in the group have the same concept of what we mean when we say surrender. So we have a very in-depth discussion about all the words that we use, what it means, why we're using it, and its relevance to them as an individual. And they can walk away with whatever they choose to. This is a self-guided process in a lot of ways, but we're facilitating the conversation. It's an inquiry. So, yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it's really important, as you said, that, I may have a meaning of surrender, which may be possibly unlike yours, or maybe unlike other members of the group. So as you said, we're in the inquiry about that and really getting clear about what surrender means to each individual. So the first step here is, again, I surrender. I admit that of myself, my ego is powerless to solve my problems and powerless to improve my life. I need help. So the first thing when I see that, what pops out is ego. I really have to admit that, I may think that I'm powerful in my ego, but in fact, staying in that space is rather the opposite. It's disempowering. Mm-hmm. So really the surrender aspect for me is to really admit that. And it also, in the surrender, is for me to check in to what is my ego, or how is my ego operating in my life? So it's a constant, or what's available to me is to be a witness, observe my own ego. Mm-hmm. And that's important to the first step, mm-hmm. to surrender it.
Right.
And I have to have an idea what it is. So what else did you get from it?
Oh my goodness. This is one that actually, when I first started doing this kind of work, it incredibly triggered me. I was like, what do you mean I need help? I'm totally capable of handling life myself. Is this thing saying that I'm incompetent? I can't handle I will never say that. That would be me admitting to not being in power. And I never want to hear myself say that, all that junk, right? But when I actually paused and looked, when I operate from this idea that I already know everything there is to know, I actually block what's possible for me to know. There's no room for growth, no room for learning. And we're not saying that you're saying, I'm suspending my knowing, I will not know anything anymore, and I'm going to be dumb from here on. We're saying that I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, and I'm clear about that. And there might be an answer out there that I haven't even considered. So I'm willing to surrender the floor to something else for a moment, to learn, to discover, to look at, and see where what I'm doing might actually be missing some bits and pieces that I can put in. And if I put in, it would make the difference, right? And the power always is yours. You're not surrendering it to me or to Sue or other people in the group, right? You're surrendering it to your higher power, whatever is in charge of you, your elevated sensibilities, right? Not the ordinary survival reactive states, but that part of you that listens, considers, and contemplates.
My ego does not want to think or believe that it is powerless.
Yes.
And yeah, so there's this inauthentic way of being that I am powerful. It doesn't mean that I'm not empowered. It doesn't mean that I don't, that I'm lacking in self-confidence. But that's not the but. I want to see, I'm not even checking myself as we're speaking right now. I don't want to use the word but. And yeah, and that thought or that way or pattern of thinking is actually a way, or it blocks me from really being, I'm getting to see truly who I am. So,
yeah.
So
yes.
Surrender definitely is a practice.
Yes. And a lot of people, when they think surrender, they think white flag, right? You come out with the white flag and you're giving up. You're throwing your hands up and you're saying, no, you do it. Well, that's not what we're really talking about. And in fact, there's power in putting up your own white flag, right? Because it's a matter of choice. One, you're saying, I'm stuck here. I'm recognizing that I can't see another move. And I'm saying I'm surrendering the floor to what's possible. So you put up your flag to say, I mean no harm. And my request in putting up this flag is for you to not harm me as I am giving the floor to what's now possible. Right?
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you're incompetent, incapable, don't have anything to contribute. It's an act of giving the space for something.
Yes.
And now in the space of war, it's often taken that now you're a captive and you have to do what the people say. That's not true. Look at how many prisoners of war get captured and they don't give out all the information that they have in their possession, no matter what happens. Some of them go through some really rough situations. But their surrender doesn't mean they're weak. It means they're committed to living.
Yes.
And they also are looking for pathways for new action.
And there's power. There's power in saying, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
My old way of thinking is you could never ask to ask for help. Oh my gosh, that may express some vulnerability here.
Yeah, that means I'm weak. I can't be weak. If I'm weak, I'm nobody.
Yes. And the opposite of it is when I am open to receiving the help, then there is that space you mentioned earlier too, or we've mentioned in this conversation. There's a whole new world of possibilities available.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond what my ego thinks is possible. The ego wants to control everything. But in asking for help, now a whole new space is opened up. And that's That's what I've learned, what I continue to learn from I surrender.
Right.
Really stand in that space of, in the moment of nothing, and
Right.
opening up to everything.
Right. And we're really not in war circumstances, right? So the person we're surrendering to, whether it's well, in this case it's the higher you, you're not trying to make yourself into a prisoner. You actually want what's best for you. You want to support yourself, right?
I want freedom.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're surrendering yourself to your higher power, nobody else has the power over you. It's you. It's still always you. Right? It's that higher spiritual part of yourself that guides, that directs, and that actually has access to all there is. You don't consciously as an ego.
Brings us to a deeper level on our inner journey, to knowing who we truly are. In giving up our powerlessness, again, actually is a place of being powerful.
Powerful, yes.
And confident, and expanding that openness, an openness to expand our lives. So that's the first step in surrendering.
Yes.
Gives us that opportunity for expansion.
Yes. And an opportunity to examine what your ego actually looks like, so you can know when it's running and when it's not, when you're operating from that place and when you're operating from your spiritual self. Yeah. It's incredible. And most people have heard it said, I'm sure, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, right? If we actually get that, we get to be responsible for both realms, our spiritual self and our humanness. Right? The humanness is the ego part of the conversation, whereas your higher self is spirit, right? So you're starting to distinguish for yourself where you're operating from. Is this a hijacked survival state, which is typical of the human existence, right? We want to preserve life. But from the spiritual side, you are life.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, what the practice of the mastermind principles bring to us is that expansion of consciousness, and providing what you're saying there, life and fulfillment and joy and happiness, which we think the ego offers.
Yes.
So is always chasing after it.
Yes.
Versus just being it. So I think we really touched on a lot. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that at the moment?
One more thing, just that surrender actually is a natural part of our existence in our everyday operations. But we don't recognize it for what it is in most cases. We're surrendering when we're going to work, right? We're bringing our capacities to the job, but we're servicing it within a certain context. That's surrender. You're not bringing your own this is how it ought to be to the job. No, they get to say that and you operate inside of that. That's the agreement there. So you surrender your own stuff to function in the job. As a parent, you have all kinds of opinions on how the kid is supposed to be. But if you're in teaching mode, you actually have to honor what's there first before you can actually impart what you want to impart there. So you surrender the space to their childhoodness and allow room for it, surrender to that, and stand for what there is to teach them.
Yes.
Right? It's happening all the time. But what we do in the mastermind group is examine those ordinary happenings, so you actually get your hands on the levers and dials of how you do your life, and allow you to be the one fully consciously directing your participation in life.
Yes, and in the groups, this is what Michelle and I offer, is that very sacred space for you to express yourself, to find that voice within yourself that maybe you haven't heard before, and to be able to expand and grow. So this is the first, Michelle, of the 8 steps, and we will be providing another podcast on each one of the remaining 7 steps over the next while. So we invite you to stay tuned, and we're available to
send a message here if you want to participate in our next group. We're not starting one until the fall, so if you want to sign up for it or get more information or get access to some of the discussion recordings of these topics, let us know and we'll get it to you.
Yeah. See, in partnership, what happens when you might not find the words, your partner can pull it together for you.
That's right. We're here together for you.
That's right. That's right. So, okay, Michelle, until our next one. Anything more?
No, that's it. I'm complete. Thank you, Sue.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.